විම් දියර මිලිලීටර් 100 ස්මාර්ට් පැක් එක රුපියල් 85ට දැන් වෙළඳ පොලේ.
හරිම සුළුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Thursday the 10th of March 2023. Set in stone. Election Commission gathers the 25th of April as a new date to hold the postponed local government elections. New mandate. Opposition says that the government cannot sell state-owned enterprises without a fresh mandate, while the SLPP calls for the local government election. Severed. All collective agreements with trade unions of the CB and the CPC will be terminated, says Minister Kanchana Wijesekara.
Alliance Finance Metro Rannai Sevaven Run Pomkata Propel Eklaksha Hattadasaka Elati Karma.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. In your top story for tonight, the Election Commission today issued a special new Gazette notification declaring the 25th of April as a new date for the local government election 2023. They say the discussions held with government institutions with regard to the holding of the elections are successful and that necessary measures will be taken to hold the election on the 25th of April. The 24th of February, the Election Commission made an official announcement that the local government election will not be held on the 9th of March as planned, and a new date will be notified later.
Issuing a statement, the Election Commission said that the returning officers have declared the 25th of April as a new date to hold the local government election of 2023. Upon considering a petition filed by General Secretary of the Samgi Janabalawege Ranjit Madhuma Bandara recently, the Supreme Court issued an order to the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance preventing the withholding of the funds that have been allocated for the local government election. According to the Election Commission, discussions were held with the respondents of that petition in obtaining their assistance in holding the election as per the court order. The Election Commission said that the head of the Department of Government Printing has agreed to print the postal ballot papers within 5 days and the rest of the ballot papers within 20 to 25 days and hand them over to the Commission. The Commission has also informed the Government Printing Department to obtain the necessary funds from the Ministry of Finance as per the court order. Further, the Election Commission said that the senior DIG in charge of elections has agreed to provide security to the Department of Government Printing during the process of printing ballot papers. However, he said that they need a request from the Department of Government Printing outlining their specific requirements for security during the ballot paper printing process. The Commission also said that the responses from the Ministry of Power and Energy and the Petroleum Corporation with regard to the fuel and power requirements requested for the election are expected to be received within the next few days.
Meanwhile, at Parliament today, the views of parliamentarians were expressed with regard to the holding of the local government election. During the debate, members of the main opposition, the Samagi Janabalawege, urged the government to hold the elections on time. Further, parliamentarians Lakshman Kiriyala said that the government needs a fresh mandate before selling state-owned enterprises as outlined by the International Monetary Fund. Responding to the main opposition, General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna said that his party is also of the view that the elections need to be held on time.
සෞභාග්‍ය දැක්මට වරමක් හම්බුනේ රාජ්‍ය ආයතන ආරක්ෂා කරනවා කියලා. දැන් රාජ්‍ය ආයතන කට්ටි කඩලා විකුණන්න යනවා. You need a mandate. The International Monetary Fund mission in Sri Lanka said the country needs a government that has a mandate to carry out the reforms. ඒකයි මම ඔබතුලට මතක් කරන්න හදේ. එදා චන්දිකා මැතිගේ වතු පෞද්ගලික සභාගම් වලට විකුණනකට ධනමරමක් කරන් තමයි කෙරුවේ. දැන් වරාය දෙන්න හදනවා. රක්ෂණ සංස්ථා විකුණන්න හදනවා. ටෙලිකොම් එක දෙන්න හදනවා. විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයේ කෑලි කඩලා විකුණන්න. ඉන්ධන සංස්ථාව. Do you have mandate. No mandate. ඉතින් ඒකයි මැතිවරණයක් වැදගත් වෙන්නේ.
අපි ඡන්දයට බය නැහැ. ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ හැටියට අපි ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ ඡන්දය ලබා දෙන්න.
There have been several attempts by this government to postpone it, and the latest one was that there was not enough funding or money for the election. Elections Commissioner had asked rupees 4.5 billion. The government's expenditure per day is about 3 times that per day. So therefore I am saying that this needs to be really this is an affront. Elections must be held on time, and it is not the prerogative of an executive to decide that, and the judiciary has every right to say what it has to say. Don't try to make a conflict and the judiciary.
දැන් අපේ විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයයි කනිත්තෙල් නීතිගත සංස්ථාවයි කැඳවන්නේ කොමිසම දින තීන්දුව කරලා පස්සේ. පෙර කැඳෙව්වේ නෑ. මැතිවරණේ නම් කල්ලිවිල්ලා අවිල්ලා කියනවා මෙන්න මේ කොමිසමේ වාහන ටික තියෙනවා අපේක්ෂකයන්ගේ වාහන ටික තියෙනවා මෙන්න මේකට තෙල් ටික දෙන්න. ඒකද ගිය සතියේත් කොමිසම් සභාවට කැඳෙව්වම විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලෙත් කනිත්තෙල් නීතිගත සංස්ථාවෙත් නිලධාරීන් ඔවුන් පැහැදිලිවම කිව්වා මේ වෙලාවේ ඉන්ධන කෝටාව කිසිසේත් වැඩි කරන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නෑ. ඒ වගේම අකණ්ඩ විදුලියක් දැන් ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා ගාස්තු ක්‍රමයේ හින්දා. හැබැයි මැතිවරණ කොමිසමට අවශ්‍ය නම් තවත් තැන් වලට ජෙනරේටර් ටික ගහලා ඒ අකණ්ඩ විදුලි සැපයීමක් ඕන නම් ඒකට ගෙවීම කරන්න. මොකද ගෙවීම කරන්න නැතුව විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයට නොමිලේ දෙන්න බෑ.
We are in a very dangerous situation in this country in terms of democracy. Yesterday would have been the day that we should have held the elections by. We did not hold those elections, much to the relief of the government MPs and ministers. For the first time in the history of this country, the people's fundamental rights, the right to vote and cast their franchise, have been subverted. There is a conspiracy by the government not to hold this election. Let the people express their views. Government and opposition has to work together in this crisis. The economic crisis, the social crisis, the political crisis. We have to come together. But unfortunately, that plea has not been heeded in this house. We still play politics. And as a consequence of that politics that we are playing, the people of this country suffer.
Yes, we live in a dangerous time. I agree with you. Because we are divided. Because you don't agree with the government. Because you don't have a common agenda for Sri Lanka. That is the most dangerous time, Mr. Disanayaka. And therefore I will call you. Come, I am willing to give the State Minister for Higher Education post to you. If you want a post, come back. I am willing to go as an MP. This is not about power games. This is about our future, our collective, individual future of Sri Lanka.
Now, Japan donated an additional 66 million US dollars to the United Nations World Food Programme to fund Sri Lanka's ability to provide critical food and nutrition to over 1 million citizens. According to the Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideaki, food and through the WFP by Japan has reached a total of 10 million US dollars since the commencement of the economic crisis last year.
The Japanese government contributed an additional 6.6 million US dollars to the United Nations World Food Programme to fund over 1 million Sri Lankans in need of food aid. The WFP is expected to provide families with food baskets to meet half of their monthly food needs for a period of 2 months, and also to procure maize and soya bean for the production of triposha for a period of 4 months, which will be supplied to pregnant and breastfeeding mothers and young children at risk of malnutrition through this funding. The Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideaki, said the food aid through WFP by Japan reached a total of 10 million US dollars since the beginning of the economic crisis last year. Representative and country director of the World Food Programme in Sri Lanka, Abdul Rahim Siddiqui, highlighted that their biggest concern is on women and children those affected by the impacts of the economic crisis. The United Nations World Food Programme's latest surveys indicate that food insecurity is still at a concerning level in Sri Lanka, while 7 in every 10 households in Sri Lanka have adopted coping strategies such as reducing the intake of nutritious food or skipping meals together. Following the commencement of its emergency operation in June last year to help Sri Lanka, the WFP has reached over 2 million people and is moving closer to its target of reaching 3.4 million people with food and nutrition assistance.
The chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, Janaka Ratnayaka, has filed a fundamental rights petition confronting the February electricity tariff hike. The chairman further stated that the approval of the PUCSL is a necessary requirement for a change in tariffs, while adding that no such lawful approval of the Commission was given to the proposal. Furthermore, he claims that the purported approval given by the Commission is an unlawful decision of 3 of the members and not a decision of the Commission. He also said that the PUCSL is duty-bound to ensure that the interests of all citizens are met when approving a change in tariffs. He emphasized that a tariff that disproportionately affects those within lower usage brackets would put those at a lowest income levels at risk of de-electrification, making even the limited units of electricity consumed by them for basic necessities inaccessible. The Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Wijesekara, said that the collective agreements entered with the trade unions of state-run Ceylon Electricity Board and the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation will be terminated. In a tweet, the minister noted that the 25% salary increment every 3 years, annual bonuses, allowances and other benefits will not be continued or renewed. He also said that he has provided relevant instructions to the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy to commence the process to terminate them. And stay with us for your business news right after this short commercial break.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන්කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. Now, the Director of the Economic Research of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, PKG Haris Chandra, says that the Sri Lankan rupee started to appreciate after what he termed as a surrender rule, compelling dollar sales by commercial banks to the central bank was lifted. He made these comments while speaking to the program Rebuild Sri Lanka of AdaDerana.
ආනයනවල සීමාව නිසා ගොඩක් කර ලංකාවෙන් යන විදේශ විනිමය ප්‍රවාහවල පොඩි අඩුවීමක් වුණා. අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලාම කළේ සරෙන්ඩර් මැන්ඩේටරි සේල්ස් කියන අනිවාර්ය විකුණුම් ප්‍රමාණය 125 තිබ්බ එක 110ට අඩු කළා. බැංකු විසින් මහ බැංකුවට විකුණන ප්‍රමාණය බැංකු අතර රැඳෙනවා. ඒකට ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ෆොරින් එක්ස්චේන්ජ් මාකට් එකේ ලික්විඩිටි කියන එක ටිකක් වැඩි දියුණු වෙනවා. ඒකත් එක්ක තමයි මේ ට්‍රෙන්ඩ් එක පොඩ්ඩක් පටන් ගත්තේ අත්‍තරම. මේ දැන් ඇප්‍රීෂিয়েට් වෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ ඩොලර්ස් මාකට් එකේ අවైలබල් නම් එතකොට අර අපි ගෙවන මිල අඩු වෙනවා. ඒක තමයි වෙන්නේ. අපේ ආදායම විශාල වශයෙන් අපිට උදව් වුණා මේ බැලන්ස් ඔෆ් පේමන්ට් ක්‍රයිසිස් එකේදී මේ තත්ත්වයන් පවත්වාගෙන යන්න. දැන් දන්නවා ඇති අපේ රෙස්ට්‍රික්ෂන්ස් තිබුණානේ. දැන් අපි පිටරට ගියොත් එහෙම ඩොලර්ස් වියදම් කරන්න පුළුවන් මෙච්චරයි කියලා. අපිට දැන් මෙසේජස් වෙනවා බැංකු වලින් අපි මේ සීමාව දැන් අයින් කළා කියලා. එතකොට ඒ කියන්නේ බැංකු වල දැන් අපිට এডুকেෂන් වලට ඩොලර්ස් යවන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් ජනවාරි දැන් බැලුවොත් එහෙම අපි අර මැන්ඩේටරි සේල්ස් වලින් එක්ක බැලුවොත් එහෙම 1 බිලියන් විතර වගේ අපිට සෙන්ට්‍රල් බැංකුවට අරගෙන තියෙනවා. නමුත් මේ ඔය පහුගිය දවස් කීපය තුළ අපි මිලියන 500ක් විතර අරගෙන තියෙනවා. අපි ඒක ප්‍රමාණය හිතන්නකො දැන් අපි ගත්තේ නැහැ කියලා. එහෙමනම් වෙන්නේ ඒ ටිකත් විකිනෙන්නේ මාකට් එක. ඒකට තවත් මිල පහළ තවත් මිලට එක පහළ.
මේක 2021ට සාපේක්ෂව 22 බලපුවාම ආදායම රුපියල් බිලියන 550කින් පමණ වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේදී මම විශේෂයෙන්ම කියන්න ඕන අපි කතා කරන මේ පේයි ටැක්ස් එක 2022 පළවෙනි මාස දෙකේදී අපිට වාර්තා වුණේ රුපියල් බිලියන 3යි බදු ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ හේතුවෙන් ආදායම රුපියල් බිලියන 13 දක්වා වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම withholding tax කියන එක රුපියල් බිලියන 2 ඉඳන් රුපියල් බිලියන 13 දක්වා 494කින් විතර වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා.
In your rupee update, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka announced that the buying rate of the US dollar stood at 31 rupees and 92 cents, while the selling rate stood at 328 rupees and 90 cents. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies worldwide. Now, the Colombo Bourse today lowered today after 6 straight sessions of gains as losses in financial and industrial stocks weighed in. Accordingly, the all-share price index ended at 0.99%, lower to close at 9,606.96 during the day. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 showed a decline of 1.49% to close the day at 2,823.14 points. Today's total turnover fell to 1.78 billion rupees from 2.49 billion rupees recorded in the previous session. However, during the week, the SPI gained 1.7% and the S&P SL 20 lost 0.5%, while recording an average daily turnover of 2.74 billion rupees. The capital goods sector was the top contributor to the market turnover. Meanwhile, the insurance sector was the second highest contributor to the market turnover, whilst the sector index increased by 2.9%. Foreign investors were net buyers in the equity market, purchasing stocks worth 213.9 million rupees, while domestic investors were net sellers, offloading 1.64 billion rupees worth of shares. And that's all the news we have for you this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Subscribe to our social media pages to stay updated on the latest news. Have a pleasant evening and good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.